From the 1420 WBSM Broadcast Center, this is the Ken Pittman Show. Get interactive. Become a keyboard warrior on WBSM's Facebook page. Read Pittman's latest blogs on WBSM.com and call 508-996-0500 to get on the air. Now, the unapologetically conservative Ken Pittman.
Good morning. Listen to it on the radio. I guess that's that's true. You are a radio guy.
Yeah, I did. Kevin Harlan and Kurt Warner.
Yeah,
they did an excellent job. And I don't know what you saw on TV.
To the Super Bowl.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Interesting.
When the coin toss happened for the overtime.
Yep.
And come on, San Francisco decided that they were going to receive.
Are they crazy?
Warner was all over them.
Oh my God! I don't know about you, but I like having my at bats at the bottom of the inning.
Sure. You know, what do you gotta do? Do you get it at 3 runs? Can you get a field goal?
And they can't answer. They can't answer. If you get 4, they can't answer.
So
it's always best to be.
Well, I think because the rule just changed, folks were used to it the other way, because when it was, you go down there and you get a field goal.
But Shanahan's reasoning was crazy. I figured, 3 field goals would have the 3rd one. Well, you can't anticipate that kind of. You can't see that.
Not in overtime.
Not with Mahomes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, didn't he prove it? Didn't he prove it right there at the end?
San Fran had the better roster. They didn't put him away. And you let a guy like that linger, and he's going to get you.
It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
And I'm listening to it on the radio. So when Harlan had that pause, just like he did when I was listening when Butler made the interception.
Yeah.
And he had that pause and go, "The Butler did it."
The Butler did it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was one of the great Super Bowl plays ever.
Well, it's interesting because I got to, as much as I don't want to admit it, I have to think that this Super Bowl overtime was better than the Patriots Super Bowl overtime, but the Patriots comeback was better.
Yeah, that was the momentum was just so gigantic for the Pats. You knew they were just going to march right down and get it done, and that's what happened. Yeah, this was really unpredictable. Yeah. But for San Fran to want to receive the ball, I thought that was nuts.
Well,
and one of the reasons he said too is he thought his defense needed the rest. Well, if that's true, why did you leave 2 timeouts on the field? If they were that gassed, why didn't you use?
I didn't hear that. He said that.
Yeah, he said
he wanted to give his defense. That's why he put the offense out there.
He thought they were gassed, and that was one of the reasons. On top of, he thought he would have the 3rd field goal, but that's why Shanahan loses big games.
The 3rd field goal.
Why would you anticipate that?
So both teams were going to kick a field goal, and he was going to get the ball back.
According to him,
really?
Yeah, I don't get it.
That might be a fireable offense.
I mean, he does put together a good program.
He's a good offensive coordinator. Is that what you're trying to say?
Well, I mean, he's got a good team.
Yes, he does.
He does.
But a team that can't close.
They had a better roster. Aside from...
Did I watch Buffalo over a period of time have a great team and lose 4 Super Bowls consecutively?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and not just lose, in some cases blown out.
Yeah.
Right? But Kansas City went to Buffalo, went to Baltimore, went and played San Francisco. They played 3 better rosters and defeated them when it counted the most. And that just speaks to the greatness of Patrick Mahomes.
How about the whole team? Let's not just say Patrick.
Well, I mean...
People got to catch the ball. The defense has to show up.
The defense played great.
Yes, they did.
They played great.
On the radio, they looked great.
Yeah. They really did. On the radio, they looked great. It was a good Super Bowl. A lot of people didn't like it.
Why?
I don't know. I thought it was... I thought Kansas City was playing terrible in the first half. I was like, wow. But it's not like the score changed. They were always down just a touchdown. Mm-hmm. And for Mahomes, that's nothing. For Brady, that's nothing. For Manning.
Even for San Francisco, that's nothing.
Yeah. I mean, they should have put him away. Shoulda, woulda, coulda. And that muffed punt. I mean, God, they handed it to him. You keep Kansas City to 3 points and a half. You better walk away with the W. I mean, they played such disciplined football on the defensive line for 3.5 quarters, and then all of a sudden Mahomes is just off to the races.
So I know there was one thing that you wanted to watch for. Did you notice how Travis Kelce got open? Because you don't see that on the radio.
No, and he didn't have a great game.
He did toward the fourth quarter and overtime.
Yeah, he had a good second half, but they were doing the right things to guard him, and they got away from whatever it was. I don't know what.
Well,
maybe the halftime adjustments.
Doesn't that go back to what you were saying earlier about they didn't put him away? San Francisco did not put him away. And there you go. They figure it out.
You got to figure Andy Reid made some good halftime adjustments as well, right?
Especially with Kelce in his ear.
You know, say what you will about Gronk. He's a lot funner than Kelce. He would never do that. You know, that was low rent.
What Kelce did to Andy Reid?
Yeah, knocking him off balance, screaming in his ear. I'm sorry.
You know what, Ken? Heat of the moment.
You can't undo that. You can't unsee that.
Oh, so you might not be able to unsee it. Do you think he's off the team?
How many tens of millions of teeny bopper Swifties do you think are going to be concerned about her if they get into an argument? Taylor, read the tea leaves. Get out of it.
So what do you think happened at the end of the game? Kansas City Chiefs win.
Yeah.
They go to the locker room, they shower, do all that kind of stuff. Does Travis Kelce go out with the team, or does he go out with Taylor?
I don't know. The season's over. Is there a rule you have to go back on the...
But usually you go out to dinner. You know, you win the Super Bowl.
You say that. I remember when Bill Parcells didn't go home with the team after that tough loss against Green Bay in 96, right? He had completely abandoned that team. And I didn't like that. Didn't sit well with me because his mind was already on the Jets during the Super Bowl game, and that bothered the heck out of me. He had Hassan Graham on the roster over Troy Brown, who is a gamer. I mean, Troy Brown's a Patriot Hall of Famer. And, Desmond Howard ran right through Hassan Graham twice for touchdowns. That was the difference in that game. He should have stayed in nickel defense and let Dorsey Levens beat not Brett Favre.
You almost make it sound like he was throwing the game.
I'm just saying he wasn't giving it his best.
Maybe. Again, it's hard to tell. When you're we can pull out 2 or 3 plays.
Well, I sat. I was in the bleachers.
At the game?
There were only bleachers at that point. No, when Bill Parcells was coaching that year. And my eyes couldn't tell me it was right that Troy Brown gets dropped for Hassan Graham. Troy Brown was a good ball player. Hassan Graham was very, very borderline cut kind of guy. And for him to get the call for the Super Bowl, I thought that was a bad mistake.
So why did he get the call?
He got exposed, too, because they targeted him. They ran right at him.
I guess my question is, why did Troy Brown not get the call?
I think Parcells didn't see much in Troy Brown. He didn't see it. He really didn't.
You know what? At the beginning, you're absolutely right, because didn't he bring in Meggett? And Meggett ended up doing punts?
Dave Meggett came, yeah. But Troy Brown hadn't proved himself, and I'm not really upset about that, but he was a ball player.
I mean, that's special teams.
Yeah, but he's a ball player, Troy Brown.
Well, but maybe at that particular time, he wasn't the ball player that Troy Brown became.
I just think Parcells misassessed.
I won't argue that. I'm just saying he's become...
He knows a lot more about football than I do. I'm not saying that. I think that, because like Belichick can't draft a wide receiver, Parcells makes mistakes too.
2 championships.
Parcells has a much better... It's interesting because Bill Belichick's his tree of coaches is not impressive. The people who have who have been coordinators and positional coaches under Belichick have not gone on to do great things. Parcells is responsible for some of the greatest coaches in the NFL. Belichick. How about Tom Coughlin, Sean Payton? I'm on and on.
Whoa. Okay, Sean Payton won Super Bowl. Tom Coughlin, where did he go?
Giants.
Did the Giants win?
2.
Not with
They beat
him.
the Patriots.
Oh, that's right. Hello. It's funny. I was actually thinking of Tom Coughlin the other day. I completely forgot about that.
And one of the more impressive seasons he had is when he had an expansion team, right?
With Jacksonville.
And he went to the AFC Championship
Yeah.
game. That was pretty impressive.
Yeah. I was going to say that's all he's done. But
I'm a fan.
No.
I'm a fan for personal reasons. I'm friends with the McGillis family in Brockton, and Jay McGillis was a great safety for the Boxers, and then became the starting safety for Boston College when Tom Coughlin was a coach. His senior year, he was diagnosed with leukemia and died during the season. It was very fast-moving leukemia, awful. And it's a wonderful family.
Maybe it's better that it is fast.
And this was like 92, 93, 92. And Tom Coughlin promised the family that he was going to do this benefit to raise money for research for this disease until it was cured. Do you know he still goes today, every year? He never fails to go and contribute to this.
I'd like to see him come back to BC. Bill O'Brien. Oh, look, I feel sorry for Bill O'Brien.
I feel sorry for the Eagles.
Why? Because they've got Bill O'Brien?
Yeah.
Why?
No, I'm just kidding. Who knows? Boston College is never going to be a top ACC team. Maybe 1 year in 30 or something like that. They're not going to be a contender. Perennial.
They can't get team speed. And
you know what it is?
They have the grades thing.
Most of the kids that are in the pool of possible candidates to go there, Southeast America mostly, right? Mm-hmm. And if you're an academic student, which Boston College requires, you're probably going to go to Duke or North Carolina, right, and stay somewhere local.
North Carolina,
or
Duke, yeah, or what's
the great academic schools like Boston College has, academic demands that maybe Alabama or Georgia doesn't.
Yeah, but what's the other college?
Stanford,
Vanderbilt.
Oh, Vanderbilt. Oh, yeah. Well, the Commodores, another school that's But I think that's tougher for Boston College to recruit the same kids who grew up loving those teams and take their studies seriously.
You want to go up there and freeze?
That's the other thing, yeah. But if you go to Boston College's campus, it's a
great campus.
It's a great
I've
city.
Been there several times.
Yeah, and it's a great city. But
it's a crappy ballpark, football field, stadium.
I like it.
Alumni Stadium. Really?
Yeah. I mean, I haven't been to I haven't been to the other ACC stadiums. None of them.
No, I haven't either.
But
they look better on TV.
They sure do. But I like it. I think it's a cozy stadium.
I don't. Cozy. When I think of an apartment, and I hear cozy, it's small, and that's exactly what Alumni Stadium is.
Well, all the expanding stands and everything. The house that Flutie built, right?
Is Flutie going to be the offensive coordinator?
I didn't hear that. Oh, is you starting trouble again? Yeah, bring in Belichick. The Nantucket high school coach asked Bill Belichick if he'd coach the high school team. He's out there fishing a lot, so the guy said, it can't hurt to ask. That would be pretty funny.
What did Bill say?
Can't you
see him fishing?
We're off to striping fishing. Yeah, I don't see it happening myself.
Do you see Bill Belichick getting back into NFL coaching?
I do. I think with 32, possibilities, what do you figure, 10, 12 are going to have turbulence, maybe think about coaching changes next year.
So do you think that these teams, ownership, general manager, are looking for somebody who's only going to want to be around for a couple of years?
Well, are they looking for somebody who's going to want to do the general managing and coach? His coaching resume is far more impressive than his general managing. And I say that realizing that he drafted the greatest player ever. He drafted the greatest tight end ever. He's probably going to be the coach GM that drafted more Hall of Famers than anybody else in history. But
over 20 some odd years.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I mean, let's face it, Kraft, if we're being honest, Kraft was tolerant of the mistakes as a GM because of the coaching.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean,
the record, yeah.
I mean, he kept winning. And he did it on the cheap, and that's what Kraft wanted. But this documentary that came out suggests that Tom Brady had a much more abrasive relationship with Belichick than the two had led on throughout all these years. Even after Brady left, he was a gentleman about it. But now this documentary is pointing, Brady's being very frank about he didn't want any more of it.
And who did the doc?
It's on It's one of the streaming networks. I don't know if
Like
it's
a-
Netflix.
like Netflix?
Yeah, one of those. And it's supposed to be excellent.
Check it out.
Yeah. But, Brady never really admitted that until now.
Well, no, he was a team player.
Yeah.
He was the consummate team player.
And he's now going to have a $335 million contract with Fox to do
Color.
for NFL games. And he apparently has been talking to Tony Romo, getting some tips.
Why not?
I think Tony Romo knows what the heck he's doing.
I think Tony Romo did. I think all of those, the first tier and even the second tier color analyst, the guy that used to be fullback for Dallas, excuse me.
Oh,
Darryl.
Yep.
Moose.
Yep.
He's good.
I don't think he anticipates like Romo. The Romo can tell you what's coming.
Romo and I think Troy Aikman.
Aikman's good.
Aikman is excellent. But think about it. How many of these guys came from Dallas?
Yeah, well, dynasties. Usually the dynasty.
But Tony Romo wasn't a part of any dynasty.
No, but he's a cowboy.
Yeah, well, that's what it is.
Right. He turned out to be very good. People.
What
it's a split
as an analyst?
It's like a Trump. It's like a Trump thing with NFL fans. You either like him or you hate him.
Romo?
Yeah, people don't like him.
As an analyst?
Yeah,
I think he does an excellent.
He gets
job.
a lot of grief.
Really?
Yeah, I like him myself. I'm a Romo guy. Yeah. I don't know how Brady's going to do. I'd rather listen to Peyton Manning. I think he's a much funnier guy, much more personable guy than Tom Brady.
I wonder if Peyton Manning just didn't want that kind of a job.
Him and his brother Eli are pretty funny guys. They do this podcast during the games. It's kind of funny,
But maybe that's different than being tied down.
Yeah, you can see how much money comes in. Yeah,
yeah.
But it's entertaining.
I believe it. I've never watched. They do it during the Monday night game or the Sunday night.
It's worth a listen. Yeah, because I think you're going to be much more careful in a certain setting with networks and things like that.
But they put it on TV.
Yeah, but then they behave differently.
Oh, do they?
A little bit, yeah. Okay. Not they're not vulgar or anything.
They're not throwing Cheetos at each other.
No. Well, I don't know about that. They probably are actually. And his little brother, or is it? Yeah, his little bird. All right, we are back. How come I can't hear myself? Are we? Why can't I hear my mic?
I don't know. Do you see the meters moving?
Check one. Yeah, but we're on. Something's wrong with this, but anyway.
That's okay.
I'm not sure what happened there. My headphones aren't working, so I'll have to get that straightened out before we take some calls. So Donald Trump was told he has to pay $335 million by...
Don't forget the interest.
I'm going to tell you right now, this is going to be appealed, and he's going to win.
Well, he's already said he's appealing.
Yeah, this guy's a lunatic. Now, I know Trump's a lunatic.
About the judge being a lunatic?
Yeah, they're both lunatics, right? But Trump's where's the plaintiff? Where's the damages? Like, where's the victim? Nobody even made a complaint, right? Did he overvalue his company? This judge said his Mar-a-Lago was worth a fraction of what it actually is worth, according to every credible realtor who's been asked if the judge is being fair about the valuation of Mar-a-Lago, for example. And if you extrapolate that to all his properties, I think you question everything. A lot of Americans, not all, I mean, it's probably split down the middle or whatever, feel that they can't trust the justice system anymore, and that this guy is being targeted, not properly prosecuted.
I think that's a fair assumption.
It is a little odd. I mean, you look what's happening down in Georgia, right? I listened to what Trump said. I don't think he was trying to steal votes. I think he was begging people to find votes, and he said it stupidly because he says things stupidly, right? But this prosecutor now has made a fool of herself. DA
Fannie,
yeah. And
FANY.
Wow. We are talking about professional prosecutors, right? Attorneys, and the semantics that they were toying with during that hearing, the nationally televised hearing. Nathan Wade, her boy toy.
Oh, boy, wait a minute. I thought they said that they weren't that.
Wow. They are that. And when Trump's attorney Merchant said, you said in December under oath that you didn't have any receipts for all these vacations and, getaways and things that you spent on yourself and Miss Willis. Fanny, the DA Fanny there. And he said, yeah. She said, well, you're under oath now. And she walked over the credit card statement showing all these payments he made. He said, yeah, I didn't say I didn't. I said I didn't have receipts. I didn't say I didn't have credit card statements. Right? So he's playing. That's so insulting. By the way, the IRS.
Splitting hairs.
The IRS can't accept credit card statements as receipts. Right? Some of them need to be itemized. You'd actually need the receipt. U.S. courts accept credit card statements as receipts in trials.
But they're not a receipt.
Wow.
So he can get
he
away.
played semantics with everything.
Well, but you know what? It's funny you should say that, because when we talk about legal, it is about semantics. So while he had those credit card statements, he says they're not receipts. You can't bust him on that.
No, but you can start to see where he's playing games and being coy. It's kind of one of these. Oh, you're going to go that way. So now you're going to have to pay attention to everything that's said with this guy. So just one of these.
Oh, I think not only him, but with her.
Yeah,
with all of them.
She was not composed when she was testifying.
Oh, I thought she was running the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought the judge was very underwhelming. He let her go off.
That's part of the problem.
Yeah. I mean, I know he's trying to be respectful of a woman he has to work with, right? But
doesn't she have to be respectful of him?
It's his court, right? Yeah, I guess that's true. It's a two-way street. But she was given a lot of elbow room to say what she would.
I think she was given more latitude than she deserved.
Yeah. I mean, usually a judge, if you just invoke your own thoughts or something outside the line of questioning, usually the judge halts you, right? You might get a couple of words out and then boom, you're stopped. Because I've testified 1,000 times as a private investigator, and I've learned, keep your answers short, do not offer, do not elaborate, because the professional who's questioning you is looking for something to go on. So don't give them anything. It's not because you're hiding anything. You just don't,
Yeah, you don't want to open yourself up.
Yeah, because they're considering things that may not occur to you and may try to take this down a path. So you just keep your answers short. But when you and she was sort of retaliating against the idea that she was even there in the first place. So he should have given her an attitude adjustment. He never did.
Judge.
Yeah.
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 No, I think she was playing him, to be quite honest with you. I didn't watch the whole thing, but of what I did watch, I thought she was definitely playing him.
Let's see what they think. Good morning. You're on the air. Hello?
So this case in New York with Trump that just sort of closed yesterday, it's really an interesting precedent.
Yeah.
I do think that he's going to get off in the end, because I think that there's going to be a lot of discussion in New York and in law circles, and that if they allow this to go through, they're going to be an exodus of businesses out of New York. And the main reason is that in New York, it's the only state that you can try someone on a fraud case and there's no victim. So they basically, said, hey, you're fraudulent in how you do business, but none of the banks, matter of fact, when they interviewed the banks and
they got all their money.
They only got all their money, but they felt that everything that he did was appropriate. Because, Ken, if you sell a house, well, not you and I, because we don't live together, but if you sell a house, you're going to appraise it with your realtor for X amount of money. So let's say you say it's worth $500,000. Your tax appraisal might be $400,000, but that's the city. So you go on the market and somebody says, I'll buy it for $450 or whatever. That's because it's a negotiation. That's what he did every time. And the funniest part was that the judge sort of did his own appraisal of Mar-a-Lago, which is on the ocean in Florida, and he said it was worth $18 million, and everybody laughed.
The judge is denying he said that. He's saying, I want you to stop saying that. I don't want to. The media keeps saying that. Why are they saying it? The judge doesn't understand why the media is saying it. I didn't hear him say it, but I did hear that he said it. But he's saying he never said 18 million. I think.
Well, he said it. He said it in an off the cuff way. He wasn't actually appraising it, but he sort of said. He did say it early on, and everyone laughed because it was like that property. A half an acre of that property is worth $18 billion.
Yeah, there's empty. Yeah, they showed there's empty lots nearby without, even being directly on the water like Mar-a-Lago, and it was going for the $18 million or something of the, per square. But Trump has incredible resources, and they better hope that he doesn't invest in going back and seeing what they've done with their past. Now, what if the judge, had an employee, a secretary, who is applying for a credit card, and let's say she's making $55,000 a year working for that judge, but then she said she's making $70,000 on the credit card application, and he signs it. That's credit card fraud. He can go back and find something on everybody like they're doing to him. I mean, this is ridiculous. Everybody's going to be found guilty of everything now. I mean,
or there'll be new laws.
Go ahead, Colin.
Well, they could change the law, but they already they've extended. I mean, think about it this way. Obviously, you have a district attorney that basically campaigned, and then every speech she ever did was, "I'm going after Trump." I mean, can that even be? That in itself should throw the case out, as far as I'm concerned.
Didn't they get a Fall River mayor with that? Helping a secretary with a credit card application. It was not an honest.
Chaseo?
I forget. No. Way back.
Oh, okay.
Way back. And this is like the KGB. Show me the person, I'll give you the crime. Right.
That could be the FBI too.
Yeah. This is unbelievable.
Yeah, I think you'll get off in the end because. Again, like when you go to probate court, it's the court of hearsay, and most of the other courts going up until you get to Supreme Court are sort of similar, just a little less obvious. And, there's going to be a lot of talk in New York about, wait a second, you took him off of his own company. He can't operate his own company for 3 years. His two sons, which had nothing to do with this, they also took them off operating the company for 2 years. And then they charged him, $360 million? And there's no victims. And so this whole thing is everything that's gone after Trump. I mean, I can't say Trump is, people make mistakes, obviously. Does that bring things up to the level of, taking their business away from him?
No, I even think that, when he was in the 80s, he wrote a book, right? Was it The Art of the Deal?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think he talked about convincing banks that you're in a much better position. If I'm remembering it right, it's going back quite a ways. But I think there was some talk in his book about making your portfolio look as wonderful as possible. Maybe even stretching it. I don't want to go out on a limb here because it was so long ago when I didn't read the whole thing. But
there's a difference between making it look good and pretty much lying about it. I mean,
no, that's not true, Brian.
Companies keep different sets of books, and that's legal.
But that's not what he did.
No? Well, I'm sure he does do.
Well, explain the difference, Cole.
No, let me just, so if you take the same property, Ken, that you have, and you decide to go to the bank and get a loan and use the property as collateral, there's mechanisms in place for the banks and insurance to check you out and to assess your property.
Why wouldn't they?
Well, they have to.
Because the court is assuming that doesn't exist. And that's
Wait,
totally
what do you mean the
garbage.
court is assuming it didn't exist?
Because to provide fraud, then you're trying to get something for the fraud. There's no crime. There wasn't where was the crime?
Well,
the crime is
he
created
got
by
the money.
court.
Well, let's say Trump went to Chase Bank and wanted to finance $150 million to build X, Y, and Z over here in New York, and this property I have will be my collateral, and my assets are my collateral. The bank has to check it out. So the bank said, yeah, we feel comfortable giving him this loan because, even if it defaults, we have this right here. They have the liens for this and that. So how can the court say he defrauded the bank when they felt they weren't defrauded? That's what I don't understand.
Well, and the other thing is, we 30 years ago, nobody knew anything about a credit rating, right? It was all behind the scenes. Now we all know, if you're at 800, you're doing good. If you're at 600, you're not doing so good. If you're at 400, you probably can't buy a chocolate bar with credit. And we all know there's a mechanism in place for that. So even if you showed collateral, they're still going to check out your ability to pay.
Yeah.
I mean, they could just assume,
not even your ability, your history too. Do you pay?
That's it. That's exactly.
Well, a lot of people who have
like,
money and terrible credit because they don't pay the bills.
That's very true.
Why this country has done so well.
or is not.
All right, great call. Thanks for it.
You bet.
I think it's confusing for the average American, myself included, on just what did he do wrong? I'm still not clear about what they're saying he did wrong.
It pretty much, on paper,
Yeah.
he said that his properties were worth X. And what has been found out is that the properties weren't worth X. They were worth
Y.
whatever. Why were they worth
No,
less?
they were worth Y.
Well, why to me
Y being
sounds like
lower.
it's going up higher, but you're doing it your way. Yes, they were worth Y. And Y was a lot more than whatever is considered acceptable. Now, the banks, where did they fail with their due diligence? The banks could turn around and say, well, Donald Trump has paid all of his bills with us before, so we took it on face value even though we have our appraisals.
It's two private entities coming to an agreement. How is this a crime? And the banks are not the victim types here. They know what they're doing.
The answer to your question would be a couple of ways. How did that money get into Donald Trump's hands?
How did the money get into
Donald Trump's
originally?
hands? Into his bank accounts. Wire fraud.
We're talking about
wire fraud.
Oh, he put stuff in there temporarily and then get it out?
Exactly. Okay. So there are so many different ways.
But what's the difference if he has the money? He can go pay it with the money that he just brought back to another account if he gets into trouble.
Apparently, he should not have had the money in order to pay it back.
I think what we're looking at is the process is the punishment. They're throwing chairs in front of every step because they don't want him in office. And there's plenty of people who don't care whether he's being treated fairly. They don't care if his rights are being violated. They don't care that he's being persecuted.
I think all of that is true.
If it's happening. I'm not saying it's happening, but I'm saying if you're an outsider and trying to decide if he's being prosecuted or persecuted, there are plenty of people who are okay with him being persecuted.
It goes both ways. As I was saying on the show earlier today.
And they still think themselves a better person.
How can people think that Donald Trump is going to get a leg up here, that he's going to be able to win the election in November? Because there's so many folks that are already against him.
The more weight that's on the heel of his throat right now is garnering votes for him.
I don't think so. I don't think he's getting any new votes out of this.
Are you kidding?
No.
Oh my God! With the Black and Hispanic communities?
No, that's not. That has nothing to do with this.
Well,
okay? No, he's getting votes because they're walking away from Biden. Two different things.
Listen, I got to tell you, I've listened and watched so many interviews where they're saying they're doing to him what they do to us, and they're relating to it, and he's getting a much bigger percentage of the minority votes because they're seeing what they think. And I'm not saying it's unfair, but the perception is everything for the voter. And this is...
I hear you, man.
I think it's also... There's going to be some of former supporters who, well, if he did that, I can't support him, right? There's going to be some of that, too.
I think what's going to happen is when it comes down to... I'm not sure that Donald Trump is going to be able to run in November. I think there are still the criminal cases that are coming up. He's got to be able to fund some of this stuff.
He's having a good week in Georgia. New York...
not a good week.
Nobody's surprised that this judge...
I think they're surprised at the amount of money.
Maybe, but this judge, I think it was preconceived. This judge had it out for him. I mean...
Yeah. I don't know. Took a long time to make a decision.
It's only happening in the bluest of areas, right? If this is in any other area, it doesn't happen. I think, but the appeal the appeal is going to have good grounds. I just don't think this is going to go forward. I even think the woman who sued him for sexual assault and the
Jean something.
And then she's going on the TV shows saying, I'm going to make all kinds of donations to things he hates. And like she's spiking the football and things like that.
So
You can't make it up.
I come back to where I was earlier.
Yeah.
The Republican Party better start looking for somebody else.
They're not alone.
Oh no, but we're not talking about Biden.
We're going to get to him in a
case.
moment, but
We're not. Well, you might on your show, but if you're hanging your hat on this guy, you can see that character does matter in certain respects.
he's going forward.
Oh, I'm sure he is.
He'll be the nominee.
Yeah, but how long does that last?
Well, through the November elections.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got the criminal cases coming up. He might not last that long.
He's going to last that long.
Yeah. No, you're hoping he lasts.
No, he
that
is.
long.
He's going to last that long.
Yeah. Okay. You're hoping.
I'm not really worried about it, to be honest.
You are.
What is he being accused of? Insurrection? Nobody's been accused of that. Nobody's been tried for insurrection.
No, nobody's been tried for insurrection.
You're going to try
correct.
Donald Trump for saying go down there and peacefully and lawfully protest?
Look,
Hey, there's the insurrection.
is that the only criminal charge?
This is the guy who...
You still got the Georgia case.
This is the guy who provably tried to get the National Guard in place in Washington on January 6th, and Nancy Pelosi blocked it.
Okay, I'm going to come back to you again. You still got the Georgia case.
Yeah.
All right. I don't think that this prosecutor is going to prosecute the case, but somebody is.
Maybe.
You don't think they'll move forward?
It's pretty embarrassing.
What, with this prosecutor?
Well, I don't think they're going to be able to prove that he stole. He was trying to steal votes.
I think they've got some people on tape already. With conversation.
The damning evidence is Donald Trump. The damning evidence is Donald Trump saying, "Find these votes." Mm-hmm. Okay.
I don't know.
I think he said he was going to prove the elections were stolen. Dumb statement. Never did it. Even if it happened and you didn't prove it, you still look like a fool, right? Or worse. But I don't see. If there was an insurrection of 75 million Trump supporters, there would be cities on fire. There would be a lot of casualties on both sides. It would be a mess. And obviously it wasn't an insurrection. I'm going
to come back to where I was. And I will agree with you just to iron it out. The Democrats and the Republicans need to start looking for better candidates to run in 2024.
Joe Biden will not be tried for obvious crimes because they say he's pathetic. He wouldn't. There'd be too much sympathy.
They didn't say pathetic.
No, but with other words though, he's
feeble. Feeble might be.
He's an elderly man who couldn't understand what's going on. But he's running the country.
Yeah. Look, you're not getting
the Justice Department.
Look, I get you. I get it. I get it.
The two-tiered justice system, and I'll get to the phone call right after this.
What phone call?
I get a phone call coming up.
Oh.
We have President Trump, who had classified documents as president, not vice president. And the FBI kicks the lawyers out of Mar-a-Lago, goes through Melania's underwear drawer, looks through the whole place. Joe Biden, the vice president, has equally damning classified records that he shouldn't have. They called his Boston office and said, "Hey, could you make sure nobody touches those before we get there?" Is that even justice?
No, I don't think anybody thinks it is. And I also believe that if it's an offense that you should be trying him for, then you should do that.
Israel rounds up 98-year-olds, former Nazis, right? No, I'm not saying they should do that. Look,
Or they shoot him in the street.
I think the bigger point, though, is that the Justice Department tried to protect him.
Tried to
protect him and say, we can't charge you.
Tried to?
Yeah. They protect
You call that trying?
But now the answer is what? He's trying to say, no, my mind's fine. You should prosecute me.
Did he say you should prosecute me?
No, but he is saying it. But he is saying it without saying it. He doesn't understand that's what his position is. Hi, Carly, you're on the air.
This country is hurting for
How you doing, Ken?
Hey, how are you?
Not bad. And Brian, how you doing?
Winging and wanging.
You know, I think many people in our country have Stockholm Syndrome. They're drinking the Kool-Aid. They believe in the propaganda. We have a gigantic national debt. Our country has turned into a banana republic. We're seeing a lot of kangaroo courts. An American taxpayer is paying to fund NATO, the European Union, the United Nations, so they can keep paying all of these foreign nationals to invade our nation, going up through Central America and the Darien Gap. And we're talking about two candidates. As far as I'm concerned, there shouldn't be a president. And each American has to pay $200,000 a year on taxes just to pay our interest on the national debt. That's over $300 billion just on the interest. Are people waking up to see we're in a crisis mode?
Well, and Biden now, there's going to be $3.4 trillion in additional taxes coming. We have 18% more in overall costs just to get by every month in the household because of inflation. I mean, which one would you prefer? The period?
Well, inflation is going up faster than
3.1%
than wages,
right.
And we're funding billions and billions of dollars. Yes, Republicans and Democrats to send to Ukraine, which retired Army Colonel Douglas McGregor said is Ukraine is more corrupt than the narco state of Mexico. We're going to give money, more billions and billions of dollars, and we're going to fund the Israelis. And they go so on and so on. So the American taxpayer sweats, works the livelong day, so their money can go overseas and bankrupt our nation. But what we're talking about is kangaroo courts.
Well, overseas is coming here. We have millions and millions of people. There are enough illegal immigrants in this country right now to have 22 congressional representatives. That's how many.
22 additional?
Yeah.
In the Darien Gap, which is between Colombia and Panama, all those Central American nations, they have an agreement with the United Nations that these people can go in through. They don't need a passport. They don't need identification. They can go through their borders as long as they keep moving towards the U.S. southern border. So you have the United Nations, the Biden administration that's through executive order has given billions to United Nations so they can keep these people coming through. They have set up these mobile units, the United Nations, with U.S. flags on them, according to a biologist that was interviewed by Tucker Carlson. I think his name is Mr. Weinstein, and that he's seen it firsthand. So we have a crisis that's being funded by the White House. We're using taxpayer money through executive orders.
And the UN. The UN has distributed.
And China's there, too.
I appreciate the call. Yeah, I know. But the UN has distributed money to 260 NGOs, non-government organizations, that hand cash to illegal immigrants in all these countries so that they have the resources to make it here. This is the UN helping illegal immigration flow to the United States.
UNICEF
I would suspend all funding. So I like what Trump does with the UN. When the UN's misbehaving, he wants to empty the cash drawer and say, well, you know what? All right, then you're on your own. I like that about him.
I like that about him also. I also like his stance on NATO.
Yeah.
But nothing happens.
Well, you get his detractors saying, "Well, look at this. He's going to ruin all of our allies. All of our allies are going to hate us now because he's asking for more money." He's saying, we're subsidizing your national defense. You should be paying more of your national defense. You guys have money.
I agree, but nothing changes.
You're right. Not because of him. He wanted to change.
Well, he may have wanted, but he didn't get it done.
The U.S. voter in their collective wisdom said, no, keep it. We'll be back. You're listening to The Ken Pittman Show. Your calls are next. 508-996-0500. That's how you also get on. All right, let's go back to the phones. We had somebody patiently waiting. You are on the air. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi.
Hi, good morning. Hey, I was waiting for, I know you're a busy guy, but I know for weeks and weeks and weeks we've been talking about Hunter Biden.
Yeah.
So did you see what happened yesterday with the report from the FBI agent that basically is leading the Republicans to basically go after Biden and Hunter Biden on taking millions of dollars from Ukraine?
Through Burisma Holdings?
He was arrested yesterday.
Yeah.
The FBI agent.
Yeah, and some people are questioning the motive.
25 years in jail for lying, by the way.
Yeah, if they prove he lied, it's going to be interesting. But People are believing that Victor Shokin was fired because he wouldn't look into Hunter Biden's Burisma Holdings company. That's what Joe Biden is selling. And, I mean, does that make sense? That Joe Biden would want the guy fired unless he looked into his son to make sure his son wasn't doing anything illegal?
No, it doesn't. It's just it amazes me. Like, there's been so much press coverage. As a matter of fact, I watched last night. I tried to watch Fox News.
I had 20 seconds for you. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, because they've been hanging on this story, and they didn't mention it once.
Yeah.
It's like crickets.
Well, yeah, I think they're trying to get an idea of the motivation. It is an extraordinary thing, but...
Plus, you had other things in the news going on.
Yeah, but it is newsworthy, as he's pointing out.
Yeah,
I'll continue to talk about that. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Ken.
You bet. All right. Over to the newsroom. We'll come back. You're listening to the Ken Pittman Show. It is 9:59. And give us a few minutes and we'll return. You'll be caught up with all the news you need to know about in just a moment.
WBSM and W258DR New Bedford. New Bedford's news talk station. 1420 AM and 99.5 FM. WBSM, a town square media station.